Hi, Dean. How's it going?
Hi, Mickey. Yeah, good. Not too bad, thank you.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for your time. Honestly, it's not an easy day. Obviously, it's not a normal Friday for you. Just letting you know we're recording this. Yeah, if you can just take me through your emotions today since you woke up. How's it been?
Uh, was very anxious because I read the report on Wednesday. So I was anxious then because of we weren't sure how Barnardo's were going to delve into this, how much detail they would go into, and whether they would be sort of sitting on the fence at all. But gladly when I read through it, I could see that they'd give an honest and very thorough investigation into what had gone on over the years. And yeah, I was really, really grateful to them really for saying basically how it was. So yeah, waiting today for Southampton once it goes public.
Mhm.
Um, you're sort of quite anxious because you're not sure what the public's opinion's going to be, and you're always going to get some idiots that sort of slag you off or whatever. But it's been really sort of supportive. Everyone's reactions on Facebook, Twitter, has been very, very supportive. And I would say the club's apology that they they put in the report. I did think it sounded sort of heartfelt. Um, Maybe someone could have spoke today, but then maybe that's expecting too much. But for what they did put in the report, I did think it seemed heartfelt and genuine.
Great. Well, I'm just glad to hear that. To be honest, um, I'm gonna ask you about double jeopardy. The law, the petition. Obviously, it's a very frustrating law to still have. I wanted to ask you, are you still pushing on this? Yeah, how are you
Yeah.
dealing with this at the moment?
Well, the double jeopardy thing was we were set sort of targets by government to get over 1,000 signatures, and then it was 1,500, and so we were growing in numbers. We got over to about 1,700 signatures, but then because of the election, they scrapped the petition, and government for any petition like that they don't restart it. If it
Mhm.
stops, then they don't restart it. So I was then advised to maybe go through change.org, where just to get some public interest up. So did a few interviews, and yeah, we've got over 18,000 signatures now. It's gone to Parliament, so politicians are aware of it, of the campaign to try and change the law. But it's gone a bit quiet. I've had certain politicians who say all the right things at certain times, but when it comes to actually sort of the nitty gritty of it, it doesn't seem like a lot's happening. And so I got an email from one of them last week, and they called me Richard. So I was a little bit, that's how personal they feel about it. It's one of them, and as I said, this went to vote in July. And the thing is that not every politician has to vote. It's not a law, or it's not a condition where every politician has to vote either yes or no. A lot of them can just say, "Look, we're not voting at all," which I think a lot of the Tories, that's basically going to be their stance on it. I had a letter from somebody in government, and they said that to change the law, it could lead to a very slippery slope, which basically means it's going to take a lot of time and effort to get justice for a lot of people. So basically, they're not going to bother. They're going to hang on to this 300-year-old law, which basically doesn't deem child sexual abuse as serious enough offence, or what it is the sentence that carries is not serious enough to warrant changing the law.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about there was also the article in the Athletic. Lee Smith was not happy about people not being named. According to the report and some research I made, there's evidence that some people in the board back in 79 and in 80 were aware of abuse going on and were aware of complaints coming in, yet didn't do anything. There's another example of a player that refused to come back to play for Saints just just because he was going to be forced to sleep at Bob Higgins' place. But no player has been named, obviously, but also no one from Saints, no one from the board, none of these people have been named. How do you feel about that?
It is frustrating, but what I would say is we can't change what's gone on in the past. We can't. All we can do is try and learn from it. And I understand some of the board members have passed on since then. I mean, some of the allegations were in 1974 about Higgins, so it's a long, long time ago. Should they be held accountable? You know, part of me feels that they should, but we're not going to change anything by that. Well, what is taking an 80-year-old or an 85-year-old man through a court case? What's that going to achieve?
Mhm.
It would have been nice if they would step up now and apologise. I think that a lot of the survivors would get something out of that, but I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I think the way their mindset is that they will sit back. They'll know obviously what they've done. They know they didn't do the right thing, but I don't think any of them will come forward and talk about it. Would it achieve anything? I think it probably would. I think it would make, as I said, some of the survivors feel better, but I just don't think they will do it.
Okay, thanks for that. Obviously, the abuse was around when you were 13. Is that right? And
From 13 to 15, yeah. Yeah.
and you spoke about it only like quite a few years later on, and you were one of the very few that started speaking. Um, as someone in this age, what do you think? How did you find the courage and the will to speak up, but not only speak up and not being believed as well?
Mm.
For a young person back then, how did that feel?
Do you know, I can't actually explain how, but it just felt right to tell the truth. And I knew that I was putting a lot on the line because I knew that my football career was probably going to suffer for it, which it did. But once I'd spoke about it, it was like a pressure valve going off, and I just felt better. I felt as though a lot of the anger inside me and a lot of the frustration, even though there were lots of tears to come and there was lots of ups and downs, it was worth it. It was worth doing. I mean, going to court in '91 was horrific. What frustrates me more, it wasn't the actual going to court, it was how the whole thing was dealt with and how the court case was ran and why the case was split up into 6 individual cases and why the lead barrister was changed on the morning of the trial. And honestly, when I walked out of that court, I never heard a thing about the trial, apart from me calling the police to find out what the verdict was. But I never heard another thing from anyone for nearly 30 years. So it was almost as if it was something they just wanted to get rid of. So that
You
frustrates me. That upsets me.
um you mentioned how important it was for you, and if I can just quote an article you wrote for the Metro a couple years ago, you said it was the be all and end all. I didn't even want to think about not being offered a contract. And all that was important to you. Everything, football, basically, your football career was in the hands of this person. As a young person, how did that make you feel? Your dream is in the hands of someone like Bob Higgins.
Yeah. Well, I think any young lad that gets the opportunity to play for a professional football club, I think is something that their parents should seriously consider. But I think it should be managed and I think it should be monitored because of what I said back then was true. It was the be all and end all for me. And there needs to be safeguarding, there needs to be support things in process for lads that are rejected because there's a lot more that are rejected than what actually get contracts. So it's to manage the children's expectations. I mean, I think they're signing for league clubs now at 8 or 9 years old. I was 13 and I struggled with the mental side of worrying about getting rejected and being manipulated by Bob Higgins because of I wanted to be a footballer that much. And there's hundreds of kids that can say that throughout the country. And now, as I said, they're 8 or 9 years old. And to have that, the goal of being that superstar and earning all that money and being famous and playing a game that you absolutely love playing and you're good at, is just such a massive achievement at the end of it for you to achieve, and all the mental stuff that goes along with it, to worrying about rejection, what you'd say to your friends, your family, and feeling a failure is a hell of a lot for a young boy or girl to take on. And you know, there's not many industries out there where you could say that an 8 or 9 year old is being employed, like to be a doctor or a surgeon, or you know, they're not expected to take that pressure on. But football, you're given that shirt. You, the team probably you idolise. You just, all you do want to do is play for that first team. So it's got to be managed properly, and you know, the expectations and the rejection needs to be handled properly, and parents need to play a big part in that.
Sure. The case was reopened in 2016. Talks about it came back. I'm sure you. I know you were involved back in 2016. But how do you think the 20 or 21-year-old that was not believed back in 91 was feeling in 2016?
Do you know what? I watched the Victoria Derbyshire show, and I saw the other lads sat on the sofa with her, and they were breaking their hearts. And as soon as I saw and could hear what they were on the show for, there was just like an adrenaline rush inside me, really. I was upset, I was crying, but at the same time I was excited, because I actually thought, God, people are going to start talking about this now. This is another chance that you know, I can get chance to get some justice. And I'd gone out for dinner with my family. I had a phone call from somebody saying that they were a reporter from BBC and they wanted to talk to me about Bob Higgins. So I said, look, I'm out with my family now. They said, I don't care. We'll wait for you. They didn't harass me. They were quite good about it. And if I'm honest with you, meeting, it was Emma Vardy. Her name was Emma Vardy. She's a political correspondent now in Northern Ireland for BBC. But the way she spoke to me and the way that she made it easy for me to talk, I'll be forever grateful for her, because I think that was a big step. Yeah, it was a big step in all this coming forward again. So, and that really got the ball rolling. I did an interview with her, and then it was out there. The police came to interview me. The police were very good. They explained to me from the start that because of double jeopardy, my evidence wasn't going to be allowed to be given in court as a claimant. Well, they were requesting from the judge that I would be allowed to be a witness. So, luckily enough, I was allowed to be part of that trial, and you know, the rest is history now. Really, it's sort of it just went from there. But after that, which was my second trial, when he was acquitted, I just couldn't believe what had gone on. I just hated everybody, and I just had no faith in the justice system whatsoever, because I still can't understand how he was acquitted. He was found guilty on one count, but the others they couldn't decide on. And because of the justice system, you've got to have, I think there was 11 from 12 had to agree. I think that's right.
Yeah. Eventually, and thankfully, Bob Higgins was convicted for 24 years. Just take me through your emotions. You know, once you knew he got what he deserved, he got this.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, it was just a matter of we were called back into court, because when you go to court, you have lots of intervals and they have breaks, and I think this is on the 8th week of his trial, and the judge had sent the jury out, I think 4 or 5 days before. So for those 4 or 5 days, it is torture, because you are literally, you have no control. You just have to wait, and you're imagining what the jury could be talking about. You're knowing that they've got to agree. They can't just, have a split decision. They need to have a majority. So then we were called in, I think it was on the Friday afternoon, and they said that there were some verdicts. So we just all raced back to the court, went in through security, sat down. And it was like something off the television. You sit there and you're in the public gallery and you're looking at the jury and you're just praying. And sorry, the press boxes, they were all full. Everyone was waiting with their pens and papers and ready to sort of take notes of what was happening. And the actual true story, what happened was the lead juror stood up and the usher said, "Have you made decisions?" Of course, we're thinking, and everyone's thinking that they have, because that's why we've been called back in. And the guy said no. So the court just went silent and everyone froze, and the judge looked, everyone looked, and then the lead juror just said, "Sorry, yeah, we have." So it was like, wow. And then I can always remember this. There was a helicopter going above the court, and there was like a big skylight, and I was imagining this ladder coming down and Bob Higgins escaping again. It was sort of a weird thing to think. It was just something that probably took my mind off of what was happening. And then they started reading through the counts, and it was just guilty. And even now, it's really sort of emotional to talk about. But we was looking at the press, and they were crying, and of course, it was a really big thing, And I couldn't actually see Higgins because of he was like on the corner, stood not far from me, but behind the screen, and I asked somebody in the press after, I said, what was his reaction? And they just said he didn't bat an eyelid. He just stayed staring faces, almost like he was expecting it. So yeah, it was very emotional. And I came out, and I can remember hugging Billy's mum and dad, and his daughter was there, and it was just the most elated feeling I could ever feel. And I know I'll never. I've had my kids born, and that's the best days of my life. But that feeling, those 20 minutes in that court was I don't think anything will top that. If someone said, look, you could have £5 million or swap that, well, I wouldn't ever swap that. No.
Do you feel justice was served?
I feel justice for a lot of the lads it was served. Yeah, obviously from my own personal point of view, no. I think that law does need to change. That's why I've campaigned like I have, not just for me, but for the others. There's another 5 lads that affects. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's locked up. I'm glad he knows that he's in there, and a big chunk of that is because of me. But justice it's a strange word, really, because it is just a word, but it's a big feeling. And when you don't feel justice, it hurts, and it'll never go away until I get justice. But there's got to be a point in my life where I say, look, I'm going to have to let this go now, because of, as I said, politicians are the ones that have got to do this, and they're clearly not at the moment. So the public support's out there. Anyone I speak to would never have an argument to say, no, I don't think they should change it. But we are where we are. So yeah, I feel justice that he's in jail for the other lads and their families, but not for myself. But I can live with that. That's better than what it was before, anyway. So.
Well, that's all from me, Dean. Honestly, it's an absolute privilege to talk to you, an absolute honor. I have to be honest. Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty and your time. Honestly,
That's okay. No problem.